That's better. Okay. Let's drop the link in chat. Which I forgot to do. And now it still says part 6. Can I edit while I'm streaming? 7. Maybe. Looks like I can. That's good. Copy the link. Link in the thread. Play School. That's what they're saying on Play School. Ah, where's the thread? I can't find it. Here we go. Here we go. I win. I win when I go live too early. What's up? I had to cut all the damaged bits off this wig, so now it looks better. I am Chess Bangs, the chess playing computer with bangs. From the famous original Netflix series of that same name. Also, I have the Little Mermaid's necklace now, so, you know. Thank you. Okay. We are going to be reading The Secret, and I'm going to try and refresh my own memory about what that was. Oh, that's right. I'm doing the sweary Scottish voice for Elizabeth. Yep. Hi, Phil. Thank you. I cut it myself from a wig that was too damaged to brush, and I put the roots on with mascara. May have been a mistake. They don't look natural. I fade them out with some brown mascara, maybe. I don't know. It's a jumping off point, you know. What's up, Danny? Okay. We're going to be recapping or leaping in, because I've forgotten a lot. Thank you, Phil. Thank you very much. I'm a lady of a certain age. I need compliments. Speaking of a lady of a certain age, Flora's here, but she hasn't come up yet. That's true. That's true. Franklin Good has, you know, come to the farm, the Fear Farm. Not to be confused with the other Fear Farm where they hold the corn horror maze. Strange. So he's hanging out with the Fear family. He's working for them. He says all his family died one by one. Pretty creepy. The son, Simon Fear, is like, oh, Franklin, you're my best friend now. And Franklin's like, you're my best friend. And Elizabeth Fear is like, I'm in fucking love with you. You fucking ball bag. And he's like, I'm in love with you too. Your eyes look like the ocean, which you've never seen. So really, I could tell you anything. And Kate Fear, Elizabeth thinks Kate might have a little bit of a crush on Franklin. I'm going to put that voice on every time. It describes how dreamy he is. I can't remember how to do the Peter Capaldi voice, but it'll either come back to me or it'll sound really weird for this whole video and it'll come back to me next time. Achoo! Shit. Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. Computer screen just went all black for a second. I touched the touchpad and it's woke up again. Weird. Yeah, Elizabeth's super pissed that Kate has a crush on the same boy. Their parents, Samuel and Catherine, they like Franklin good. They think he's a hard worker. They've given him charity and taken him in and stuff, so they're feeling pretty good about themselves. Franklin has had a villain monologue about how he's going to bring down the fears and destroy them. Also, Elizabeth is the one with the Fear family amulet at the moment. She found in a mysterious box where she was digging under a tree. She just had no idea that a box full of ash with like a special bit of jewelry in it might be a grave of some kind. The thought has not crossed her mind at all, so that's fun. 6 minutes in. Just gonna retweet the tweet just in case, because I hate recapping. Secret time. Secret time. Or Tom, I don't care. Oh, and it's not even in the thread, it's just loose. Oh well. The important thing is that I stay on brand. Yeah, she doesn't seem to know anything, really. So I am going to be adding a few little bits and pieces of dialogue to Elizabeth's dialogue just to make it have the word fuck in it more often. I'm going to try and avoid the C word because your American censors are crazy. Yeah, I think we're about ready to begin. We've set it up for disaster. Now it's time. Chapter 22. I am making it more accurate. Accurate to the soul. Put that watering can down. Elizabeth glanced up from her gun, startled by the sound of a deep, booming voice. Then she broke into a laugh. It was only Frank teasing her. It hasn't rained all fucking week, she protested. My flowers are thirsty. I don't know what that was. She straightened her straw bonnet and continued watering the garden. Frank stepped closer to her. All right, water them, he teased. I will go for a walk in the woods by myself. We're going to make out tree. She pouted. Yeah, I'm almost fucking finished. There you go. She set the watering can down. Let me come with you. Won't want you to get fucking lost in the fucking woods, you stupid fucking ballbag. She took off her sunbonnet and left it on the grass. Her hair was tied back with a red satin ribbon. Frank took her hand, and they started off through the woods. The woods are the original hookup point. Every day when the weather was fair, Frank and Elizabeth walked through the woods to the clearing with the 2 flat rocks. Elizabeth looked forward to their walks more and more. No one else in the family knew about them. I'm not keeping our walks a secret exactly, Elizabeth thought. I just haven't fucking mentioned them. Elizabeth knew that her mother would want to come on the walks, but that would ruin them. Yeah, Elizabeth's the only person who should be coming on the walks. They would not be the same with her mother. Not at all. Anyway, Frank's never done fucking anything fucking proper, she thought. I've no reason to worry. Now they had reached the clearing. Elizabeth sat down on her rock, the smaller one. But instead of sitting on his rock, Frank lingered behind her. Elizabeth felt a gentle tug on her hair, and then felt it fall loose about her shoulders. She sighed. Frank had untied the ribbon from her hair. Remember the ribbon? It's Chekhov's ribbon. If you mention a ribbon, it has to come into play in the next, 3 sentences. She leaned back against him, and Frank playfully draped the red ribbon across her throat. She giggled. He tugged on it lightly. She giggled again. Then Elizabeth sat still, quivering with excitement, waiting to see what would happen next.
Sorry, I don't understand.
What the fuck? Why? I've got some kind of helping assistant on. I don't want you to understand. I don't want you to speak. Can I mute my phone? Okay, phone's on mute. Although, even my phone helper doesn't understand why Elizabeth is giggling and thinking she's having a good time. Oh, I've got top chat on, not live chat, so if anyone's if I've missed anybody's comments, sorry. I always try and have live chat on. Oh, that's being really mean to Siri. Waiting to see what would happen next, now that this guy has a ribbon around her neck in the woods. Behind her, just out of her sight, Frank held the 2 ends of the ribbon in his hands. He wound each end around his index fingers. Elizabeth sat before him, trusting her fate to him, completely in his power. He smiled, and then he tugged on the ribbon, preparing to strangle her. Of course it's the start of a new chapter, you know. Yeah, we're not kink shaming Lizzie. We're shaming Lizzie for not understanding, safe, sane, and consensual, Although we shouldn't be shaming her, we should be shaming the education system in 1843 Massachusetts. Chapter 23. A twig cracked nearby. Frank froze. Elizabeth's body tensed. She heard the snap of another twig, then the shuffle of someone moving through pine needles. Someone was close by. The ribbon fell from Frank's hand. Elizabeth climbed to her feet and clutched at his arm, her eyes scanning the woods. Yeah, the danger's out there. I think what's meant to be shocking is that that Frank was about to kill her. I think the fact that Elizabeth was quite excited and didn't know what was going to happen isn't really meant to be shocking. I don't know. I first read it as a 10-year-old, well, 11-year-old. 10? 10. The shuffling noise moved closer. Then Elizabeth saw a stooped figure walking slowly and steadily their way. A white-haired old woman, dressed all in black, hobbled through the pine needles, a cane poking the ground in front of her. Elizabeth gasped. It's fucking Aggie! She grabbed Frank's hand and pulled him through the woods, back towards the house. She did not look back, and she did not stop until they were safely in her yard. That was the old fucking woman, Elizabeth said, panting. Old Aggie. She's still fucking alive. She appeared to be a harmless old woman, Frank told her. No, she is fucking not, Elizabeth cried breathlessly. Somehow, okay, I know she's not just a harmless old woman. There's something fucking different about her. Frank took Elizabeth in his arms and held her tight. She closed her eyes and rested her head against his chest, catching her breath. Yeah, it would have been a lot more shocking if we didn't know it was coming, but maybe too shocking for YA, I don't know. She felt safe now. I will always feel this fucking safe with fucking Frank, she thought, ironically. Calm at last, she lifted her head and smiled. It's too bad fucking old fucking Aggie came along, she whispered. She spoiled such a sexy afternoon. Oh, lovely afternoon, whatever. Frank hesitated, then smiled. Oh, look, he's embarrassed, Elizabeth thought fondly. He was going to kiss me? He was going to ask me to marry him and he wanted to fucking surprise me? But now he knows that I know. Oh well, she thought as she and Frank started back toward the house. He'd better fucking ask me soon. I won't disappoint him. I plan to say fuck yes. Elizabeth opened the back door and she and Frank stepped into the kitchen. They found Kate stirring a pot of soup. Speaking of, stirring the pot, Kate glanced at her sister and Frank when they walked in. Elizabeth smiled at her and said, "How's that fucking soup coming?" Kate did not answer. Her mouth fell open, but no sound came out. She dropped the soup spoon and ran from the room. Elizabeth stared after her, shocked. She suddenly felt aware of her hair hanging loose about her shoulders. She turned to Frank, who had a strange, thoughtful expression on his face. Yeah, Elizabeth had never seen anyone have a thoughtful expression on their face before, so she's not quite sure what it is. What the fuck is her problem? Elizabeth asked him. Do you think Kate is all right? I'm sure she's fine, Frank replied. Perhaps she burned her hand on the pot. I better make sure she's not fucking hurt herself, said Elizabeth. She started to follow Kate, but Frank caught her by the wrist and held her back. He's doing so many things that are just not red flags at all. Just grabbing her, strangling her in the woods. It's all very normal. Do not worry about her, he said. Your mother is upstairs. I'm sure she is taking care of Kate. I suppose you're fucking right, Elizabeth said, doubtfully. She felt she should go after her sister, but Frank seemed to want her to stay with him. And she was cognitized, so, Exactly. You cannot keep a secret if you are clearly freshly strangled. The soup began to boil. Elizabeth picked up the spoon to stir it. I can't go running after fucking Kate, she reasoned, as she felt Frank run his hand through her hair. Someone has to fucking stay here and watch the soup after all. If it boils over, we will not have any supper tonight, and I am sure that Kate does not fucking want that. A few weeks later, how did the soup come out? A few weeks later, Elizabeth paced the house impatiently, searching for Frank. Where the fuck is he? She wondered. It was time for their walk, and she could not find him anywhere. She sighed and sat down on a chair in the parlour and picked up her knitting. Yeah, I might as well work on Kate's fucking scarf while I'm waiting for him, she thought. I might as well make myself fucking useful, as Mother would say. The back door slammed. Oh, here he is at last, she thought. She stood up, waiting to greet him, but it was not Frank who burst into the parlour. It was Kate. Kate's face was flushed, and she carried a basket of mulberries in her arms. Oh, Elizabeth, she cried, letting the basket fall to the floor. She ran to her sister and threw her arms around her neck. The most wonderful thing has happened. Yeah, what the fuck is it? Said Elizabeth. She had never seen Kate so excited. You will be so happy for me, Kate gushed. She took Elizabeth's hands in hers, knitting and all, and danced her around the room. Mother will play the organ, and you can decorate the cake. What fucking cake? Said Elizabeth. Kate, what are you talking about? Haven't you guessed by now? Cried Kate. Frank and I are going to be married. That was me holding up an engagement ring. It wasn't clear. Chapter 24. Married? Elizabeth uttered, unable to hide her shock. You and fucking Frank? What is all the commotion in there? Simon and Mr. Fear came hurrying in from the front porch, and Mrs. Fear appeared on the stairs. What is going on, girls? Elizabeth stood frozen in place, trying to stop her knees from shaking, while she watched Kate run into their mother's arms. Mother, Frank has asked me to marry him. Elizabeth stood aside to watch the happy uproar that followed this announcement. Mrs. Fear's kind face lit up, and Mr. Fear clapped his hands delightedly, as a trained seal might. Finally, Elizabeth could not help herself. She could not keep the words from bursting from her lips. That fucking isn't, she cried in a trembling voice. Frank fucking loves me. No one seemed to hear her. Simon asked, where is Frank? I want to congratulate him. How can this be? Thought Elizabeth. Is this really happening? Kate and fucking Frank. Mrs. Fear also says, guess what? Frank and I are going to be married. Yeah. And Simon's like, wonderful news, we're moving to Paris to be roommates. I didn't really understand the Vampire List app when I read it. I was like, wow, these guys are best friends, really best friends. She wanted to scream. She wanted to fly out of the room. She wanted to disappear forever. How can this be? How the fuck can this be? She added a sob of grief, of anger, of disbelief. I think that encompasses all those feelings. Kate and Frank. Elizabeth remembered just then all the times that Kate had acted strangely around her and Frank. When Elizabeth told Kate that she liked Frank, and when Elizabeth and Frank had come in from the woods and found Kate stirring soup. Kate had seemed upset those times. Now it all made sense. Kate had loved Frank all along. They get there in the end, don't they? And Kate had stolen Frank from her. How could you? Elizabeth shrieked at the top of her lungs. Her new outburst made everyone fall silent, and they all turned to stare at Elizabeth. How could you? She raged at Kate again. My own sister. What? Kate gaped at her, bewildered. Lizzie, what are you talking about? I fucking, yeah. Elizabeth found herself speechless now, afraid of the intense anger she felt, afraid she might explode from rage. She tightened her fists around the knitting needles and ran from the room. I must find Frank. I must find fucking Frank, she told herself as violent sobs escaped from her throat. Yeah, those times. Just the ones mentioned, yeah. Nothing else has actually happened. In between paragraphs, the Fear family just stays static, like a Highlander having a flashback. They're just like, for ages. She pushed blindly through the kitchen, out the back door and into the woods. Behind her, she could hear Kate calling her name. Elizabeth ignored her. Frank was all that mattered. Kate could not be trusted. Oh yeah, he's completely blameless. Frank! She screamed. Frank! Her feet padded over the brown carpet of pine needles. Sharp branches tore at her skirt, but she barely noticed. Elizabeth had almost reached the clearing when she realized she was still clutching Kate's unfinished scarf and her knitting needles. She tossed them onto the ground and kept running. Hello, Evelyn. That is way too over the top a compliment, but thank you. I'll take it. So, Elizabeth is falling in love with Frank, who tried to strangle her in the woods, but Elizabeth didn't notice, and he stopped strangling her because the mad old woman who's a witch, who lives in the woods or something, kind of shuffled past, freaking them out. And then, a few weeks later, they've been going for walks every day. Elizabeth's falling madly in love. And Kate, her sister, comes running in going, me and Frank are going to get married. And everyone's super happy for them. And then Elizabeth just flips her shit, and now she's running through the woods looking for Frank. Good recap. Frank, she called. Far behind her, she could still hear Kate's worried call. Elizabeth! Elizabeth! Simon and his parents were left standing in the parlour in a daze. None of them understood what had just happened. Wasn't Kate's announcement a joyful one? At last Mrs. Fear said, Simon, run after the girls and see what this is all about. She was very titillated by the strangling, but in a way where it was kind of just like, oh, he's doing something. I don't know what it is. I don't even know what sex is, but he's doing something. And Frank was like, yes, the murder thing. Simon nodded and started after his sisters. He heard voices ringing through the woods. They were his sisters' voices. A couple detectives in the family. No sign of Frank. Simon could not help wondering where Frank was all this time. He tried to follow the voices, but they seemed to come from all directions in the thick woods, like bird calls. Then, suddenly, there was a blood-curdling scream. Ah! Simon froze. The woods fell silent. Silent as death. What was that? Where had it come from? He ran in the direction of the scream. Soon he found himself in a clearing. He recognized it as the place where he and his sisters had played as children, and where everyone in his family was now going to hook up with Frank. Simon's eyes frantically searched the clearing. Who screamed? Why? Behind the bigger of the two rocks, he saw something dark. Simon squinted hard until it came into focus. A pair of dainty, black, high-button boots. Simon recognized these as being worn in the time period that he was currently living in. Yes, he thought, they do wear button boots at this point in history, and in this place in the world. My God, I bet they belong to Deus Ex Bear. Yeah, the bear is in the woods, but, like, he's on the other side, so... Okay, well, this is my knitting, which I'll hold up when I'm describing gore or something. He took a step closer, his heart beating wildly. The ground seemed to tilt under him. Taking a deep breath, Simon peered behind the rock. Oh, actually, that's not too bad. No, that's not gory. Sorry, I'm ruining it. I'm spoiling it. Taking deep breaths, Simon peered behind the rock. Oh! He gripped the top of the rock as his eyes landed on Kate's body. She lay sprawled on her back, her light brown hair spread around her head like a halo. Her pale blue eyes were open, reflecting the sky. Simon gripped the rock till his hand hurt. Kate? She did not answer. She stared up lifelessly. A knitting needle plunged through her heart. Chapter 25. Elizabeth sat in the rocking chair by the fireplace. Her hair fell in tangles down her back. Her eyes, red-rimmed and bloodshot, stared out from her tear-stained face. She rocked back and forth, hugging her knees under her torn blue dress. Kate was a fucking liar, Elizabeth murmured, rocking. Kate was a fucking liar. Kate was a fucking liar. Mrs. Fear stood over the rocking chair, helplessly wringing her hands. Mr. Fear stared at his daughter in horror and disbelief. Frank sat tensely on the couch, his eyes darting from face to face. Simon paced the room, lost in his own unhappy thoughts, not seeing anyone. Kate was a fucking liar, Elizabeth murmured. Frank did not love Kate. Frank loves Elizabeth. She lifted her head to search for Frank. Her eyes met the horrified stares of her parents instead. Why are you staring at me in that fucking stupid way? She screamed. I did not kill her. I fucking swear it. Her mother and father said nothing. Elizabeth rocked again. They don't fucking believe me, she thought bitterly. It is written all over their faces. They think I killed my own fucking sister. They think I stabbed Kate with a fucking knitting needle. Frank was at her side now, kneeling beside the rocking chair. He took her warm, sticky hand in his. I hope she's got blood on her hands, otherwise why... Don't ask. His hands were so cool, so calm and soothing. Elizabeth is the gentlest creature I know, Frank said to her parents. She could never kill anyone. Still, her parents said nothing. Her mother's face was twisted in grief, fear, and confusion. But Elizabeth focused on Frank only. Frank's handsome face was calming. He gave her a tiny, encouraging smile, and at once she felt better. I would be all alone in the world without Frank, she thought, inaccurately. Then she said to her family, fucking Frank believes in me. He knows I'm fucking innocent. Why don't you cunts believe me? Oh, I was trying not to say the C word. Teenage girl puts knitting needle through sternum. Yeah. Grief treacle. That is the other thing, yeah. No one said a word, but Elizabeth could see it on their faces. They blame me for Kate's death, she thought. They blame me and Frank. Mr. Fear stormed out of the room. Mrs. Fear hurried after him, and then Simon too strode out, disgust registered on his face. Elizabeth dissolved into tears and continued to rock back and forth, crying. Hush, Frank whispered. Hush, Elizabeth. Forget about them. There is nothing you can do to make them believe you. Yeah, also, the strength needed for that would be a lot, and also, I'm pretty sure, I think it would be unusual if she wasn't using wooden needles, so, but she can't have been, otherwise it wouldn't have happened, so, ergo, she does. Maybe like whalebone or something horrible that we had in the past. Frank gave her a white handkerchief, and she dried her eyes. My own family, she whispered. They will never believe in me. They will never speak to me again, I suppose. It was loaded into a crossbow. Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be cold hands, warm heart, so maybe his heart's warm because it's on metaphorical fire, because of the fire. You are too hard on them, Frank said. They do not want to accept the truth. They cannot accept it, and that is why they will not believe you. Now he took both of her hands in his. But I believe in you, Elizabeth. I always will. I'm the only one who always will. Now let's get you cleaned up and cut off from your friends and family. She stopped rocking and smiled at him gratefully. It is hard for a mother and father to imagine their own child killing herself, Frank went on. But I know that is what happened. Kate killed herself. Your parents did not see it, and Simon did not see it, but you and I could see it. Kate was going mad. Oh my God, Frank has a very low and very accurate idea of the Fear's intelligence. Elizabeth nodded. All that strange behaviour was the only logical explanation. Kate was jealous of you, Frank said. You know I never told Kate I would marry her. How could I? I am in love with you. He kissed her hands. Yeah. Elizabeth drank in every word he said. Kate made it up. Cold hands just washed, yes. Kate made it up, said Frank. She made up that whole story about our engagement. She ran right to you to tell you first. I think she really believed it was true. She was mad, truly mad, that poor girl. Poor Kate, Elizabeth whispered. She was capable of anything, said Frank. No one could help her. Fucking thing's itchy. Elizabeth knew he was right. She sighed and started rocking again. Frank, I can't fucking stay here. They all hate me. She gestured toward the second floor where her parents and Simon had gone. I must get away. I know what to do, Frank said. We can run away together. We shall elope. Gosh, it was so itchy. He gently took her chin in his hand and turned her face toward his. Elizabeth Fear, will you marry me? They were the most wonderful words Elizabeth had ever heard. She felt a little of her old spirit come back. Oh, aye, she said, throwing her arms around Frank's neck. Yes, and we'll fucking leave tonight. Elizabeth's touch gave Frank a cold chill, but he did not let it show. Yes, he thought to himself, we shall elope. We shall leave this house tonight, Elizabeth and I. But only one of us will return, and it will not be Elizabeth. This trusting girl will pack up all her belongings, he thought gleefully. I lost my place. And follow me wherever I go. I will take her into the woods to kill her, just as I killed her sister. I know that's supposed to be kind of a twist, but Kate's face was so wonderfully surprised at the end, he thought. When she saw me coming, she smiled. She opened her arms to me. Even when I raised the knitting needle over my head, she did not understand. She had no idea what was happening. Not until the very last second. Then she understood it all. It came to her in a flash. The horror of betrayal. The Fears need to learn what that feels like, and they will all know soon enough. Which I think is a good stopping point for today, because my voice is running out, but you know. Just the absolute fucking brass balls on Franklin Good. Like, well, she was very troubled. I'm honestly not surprised she killed herself with a knitting needle. So it's normal, it's possible, and people do it all the time. Oh, fuck. So, yeah, the knitting needle, I mean, it's so weird, but fine. Thank you all for joining me. I slept last night, I'm pretty happy about that, and I'm looking forward to sleeping tonight. Which I might actually do, I hope. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for more The Secret. I mean, we'll probably finish the book, I think. And I'm going to go make a cup of tea. So, be good to each other. Be good in general. And if you can't be good, be clever. I think I'm so smart for saying that. Thank you. Thank you for being here and sharing this bonkers journey with me. See you guys tomorrow.